All right. There. Notes ready. So lesson 19, Jesus heals the nobleman's son. John chapter 4. Okay. Remember yesterday, Jesus stayed here in Samaria for a few days on his way north to the Sea of Galilee. Okay. Heading up north. So that's where we begin. He begins going there. So John chapter 4, and if I read here, verse 44, for Jesus, or verse 43. Now after 2 days he departed thence and went into Galilee, for Jesus himself testified that a prophet hath no honor in his own country. Then, and that will come up again tomorrow, that a prophet hath no honor in his country, where he'll actually speak that. But anyways, verse 45, then when he was come into Galilee, the Galileans received him, having seen all the things that he did at Jerusalem at the feast, for they also went unto the feast. So you have to remember, Jesus at the feast had cleared out the temple down here in Jerusalem, and those people went back home to Galilee and probably told all of their relatives and everyone all about, you should have seen this man. He was clearing it out left and right, and he was speaking with the Pharisees. By what power he did this. And Jesus did other signs and wonders and miracles too that the people had seen. So they went back. So that's how they could have seen it. And you might say, well, how could they see it? Well, they saw it because they were at Jerusalem, and now they return. And that too will play a part in tomorrow's lesson, understanding and knowing that, because he will be asked to do those things. But anyways, okay. So Jesus goes here into Galilee. It's his own country. He grew up there in the city of, what city did he grow up in, Garrett? What job did he have? And before he started his ministry, Joe? Okay, he was a carpenter. So he was a carpenter in Nazareth. The people there knew him. Okay. Now what is the explanation, though, of that phrase that a prophet hath no honor in his own country? Okay. Well, we know that the people kind of receive him only outwardly. Okay. They love him because what can he do for them? Or what are they hoping he does for them? What are they looking for him to do? Courtney? Yeah, miracles. Hey, here's my grandma. She's got a blood disease. Can you heal her? Or here's my son. He's lame. Can you heal him? Or here's my daughter. She's leprous. Can you fix it? Okay. So it's an outward thing. They know. They received him with that outward excitement. Okay. But at the same time, I asked you to look up a few other verses because we know that eventually they're going to call him some things. Matthew 11, verse 19. What did they call him there? What mean words did they use to describe Jesus in Matthew 11, verse 19? Most of you had the right answer here, so that was good. Remember? Garrett? A glutton and a winebibber. What's a glutton? Someone who eats too much. What's a winebibber? Faith? Yeah, they're always drinking. Specifically wine and probably getting drunk. So they call Jesus that. Okay? And then later on they're going to, Jesus, because of their wickedness and their rejection of him in Matthew 11, verses 21 through 23, I asked you to give me 3 towns, 3 cities there in the north that Jesus calls down curses on. He calls down curses on these cities because of the way that they treated him. Joel? Not Tyre and Sidon. They're compared to Tyre and Sidon. Faith? Okay. Capernaum, Bethsaida, and Garrett? Okay. So we see those names there if you look at those. And the noblemen, or these Galileans, eventually, obviously reject Jesus because they're Jews. And we know Jesus eventually has to go to the Gentiles. So that's what it means. A prophet is not welcome in his own country. Okay? That phrase here. Yes, the people are looking for an outward ruler. They're looking for someone who can do all kinds of great miracles. But in the end, he will be rejected. In fact, he'll be rejected by all of his people. Even if we had been there at the cross, we too would have crucified Christ. Okay? But, so Jesus had to go to Galilee because I asked the question, what is What are the two possible reactions when you hear the preaching? When you hear Jesus preaching, what are your two possible reactions? Courtney? All right, you accept and believe what is being preached to you, or you reject it and hate it, what is being preached to you. Okay? So Jesus must go to Galilee. He must preach, and the result of it will be, well, we know for most of the Jews it will be that he's rejected. Yes, there will be some who are going to believe, God's children. Okay? And that's the majority of the people in Galilee. They'll reject him. So he had to go here. But anyways, let's go to this nobleman here that we continue on with, the story of the nobleman. Okay? Verse 46. So Jesus came again into Cana of Galilee, where he made the water wine. And there was a certain nobleman whose son was sick at Capernaum, so a ways off. Okay? And when he heard that Jesus was come out of Judea into Galilee, he went unto him and besought him that he would come down and heal his son, for he was at the point of death. So this man is in Capernaum. He hears the news, travels quickly, that Christ is in the land of Galilee. This nobleman probably packs up whatever he needs, gets on a donkey or mule or whatever he rode on, a camel, and he travels from Capernaum to where Christ is, in Cana of Galilee. And there he goes, and what is he hoping Christ can do? Micah? He's hoping that Christ will come and be able to heal his son. His son is sick. Okay? So, they're about 20 miles apart. Okay? And this man, now he's a nobleman. So he's some type of leader or important person, and he is going to come and he's going to visit Jesus here. Okay? So again, the fame spread very quickly. Now, he comes to Jesus. He asks Jesus, please come with me. Come with me to Capernaum. Probably a nobleman has some money, and he probably had an extra animal for Jesus to ride on. Maybe, we don't read here, but he would repay him. Who knows what he would do? We don't read of that. But he probably had some way to say, quickly, Jesus, will you come with me? I am a nobleman from Capernaum. Maybe he's an important person who had been elected by Greek officials or Roman officials and put in that place. But either Jesus says, I'm a nobleman, come with me. Or not Jesus, but the nobleman says that, come with me. And he's hoping Christ will come with him. But that's not what happens. Let's keep reading verse 48. Then said Jesus unto him, except ye see signs and wonders, ye will not believe. The nobleman saith unto him, Sir, come down, ere my child die. The nobleman understands here. Jesus says, except ye see signs and wonders, you won't believe. So Jesus is teaching. He's saying, why is it? Okay? People will only believe when they see signs and wonders. He's teaching that there, and we'll see the great faith here in a minute. But the nobleman, once again, saith unto him, Sir, come down. You can imagine him pleading with Jesus, begging him, please, sir, won't you come with me? My little boy is sick. My little boy needs to be healed. I don't want to lose him. I love him. Please come with me. And he's pleading for the life of his son. He must have loved him very much. We read there, he's at the point of death. We can imagine this nobleman probably have called in every single doctor in the town of Capernaum and the surrounding territory. Please come in. Can you do anything for my son? Can you save him? Can you help him? And nothing earthly had been able to heal this young boy yet. Okay? So he knew that he must ask Jesus to come, because Jesus obviously can heal. And here it's a miraculous healing too. So Jesus then says to him, verse 50, Go thy way, thy son liveth. And the man believed the word that Jesus had spoken unto him, and went him way. Jesus' answer here is a test. Okay? It looks as though it's a rebuke. Okay? It looks like he's howling. But he's using it as a test, as a teaching tool for us to look at after the fact, but for the nobleman and the other people who were probably there with Jesus to see at that time. This is a test. Okay? It was a test to see, would this man believe? that Jesus could heal him without even being there. Okay? Many of the people, and that's what Jesus is saying in that statement, many of the people will prove that you're the Christ. If you are the Christ, heal this person. We know that even when Jesus goes on the cross, what are they going to say? If you are the Son of God, what will you do? Hannah, if you're the Son of God, what do they tell Christ to do when he's on the cross? Yeah, come down, take yourself off that cross. Then we'll believe. Then we'll understand. That's not what Jesus wants. Jesus doesn't want people to believe because of a sign. Jesus wants people to believe by faith. By faith, God's people stand and understand the great truths of the Scriptures. Is by faith. Just like the rich man and Lazarus. Okay? You don't need me to come down and do a great wonder or sign or go talk from. You have the prophets. You have the Word of God. You don't need a sign. So that's what Jesus is teaching here. He's instructing them. So the nobleman persisted here, but he goes his way and he believes. Jesus did not need to come to Capernaum, and this man shows great faith in turning around and leaving. That's got to be a hard thing to do. Think of that. You know that at home your son is near death. You've come 20 miles to see Jesus. You've spoken to Jesus. You've begged him to come heal your son. And instead Jesus says, well, sir, your son is healed. Go your way. Would we do that? Would your parents do that? Because we wouldn't do that anymore because God doesn't work that way. But can you imagine if somebody in your household was sick or dying and somebody told them, oh, they'll be all right. They'll be healed. And you just have to walk away and leave. You don't need me to come with you to come heal them. They'll be healed already. Right? You have a brother or sister choking on a hot dog at home and mom and dad are gone and you can't get a stop, so you run to the neighbors and pound on the door and say, help, help. And they say, well, what's the problem? Well, my brother is choking on the hot dog. And if they told you, well, don't worry, it's all better now. Would you run back to the house and believe them? Or might you go find another neighbor? We might find another neighbor or beg them or try to grab them by the arm and drag them with us. No, that's not possible. You can't know that my brother or sister is all better. They're probably still choking on it. Come help. But this nobleman shows great faith. He turns around and he leaves and he heads back to Capernaum. Without his son being touched by Jesus, without Jesus coming and looking over him and making a diagnosis, without any of those things happening, the nobleman believes and shows great faith that Jesus can heal him because Jesus said so. That's all that's needed. The worlds were formed by the Word of God. Would it not be possible for the Word of God also to heal? And it does here. Okay? In fact, we see this. Verse 51. And as he was now going down, his servants met him and told him, saying, thy son liveth. Then he inquired of them the hour when he began to amend. And they said to him, yesterday at the 7th hour the fever left him. Now 20 miles isn't a difficult distance to go. 20 miles is a distance one can cover probably in 10, 12, 14 hours, depending on your walking speed. 16, maybe 18. But in a day a man can cover 20 miles by walking. No problem at all. So, what does that mean if he arrives at home and the men tell him, yesterday your son was healed? What did he do that? Where was he then? Well, he must have stayed in Capernaum overnight. He had so much faith, or not in Capernaum, but by Cana. He had so much faith that Jesus could heal his son and that his son was now healed that he didn't even leave right away. He stayed, he rested the night, got up the next morning, and then traveled home. And of course, his servants, we read, come out to tell him, and they tell him he was healed. Your son is fine, he liveth. Of course, those servants are thinking, well, it was by the fever broke, or he got better on his own. Maybe it was some food that we gave him. Maybe our master just didn't wait long enough before going to seek help. But the master had to tell him, and he wanted to find out for sure. So he asked them, what did he ask them? Oh, servants, faith. What hour was my son healed? At what hour did his fever break? Did he begin to get better? And what did they say, Jesse? The 7th hour of the day. Okay, they said unto him yesterday at the 7th hour the fever left him. So the father knew it was the same hour in which Jesus said unto him, Thy son liveth, and himself believed, and his whole house. This is, again, the second miracle that Jesus did when he came out of Judea and Galilee. So, his second miracle. What was his first miracle in Cana of Galilee? Micah. Turning water into wine. Okay? So, miracles are always signs. We talked about that. We're all sick with sin. Okay? That's how we are. We're sick just like the nobleman's son. We're dying. Our sin is killing us. We would go to hell for it. But Christ has died for us, and He heals us spiritually too. Okay? So, the power of the Spirit heals us and works in us too. And what's interesting there is it saved, the Son liveth, and himself believed, and his whole house. Okay? God works by saving families. We've talked about that. The covenant doesn't just go to individuals. God just doesn't. But God promises the covenant and salvation in families. So that's why you hear when we just had baptism. Okay? We hear that read in the baptism form, that God's promise is to believers and their seed. Okay? You are the seed of your parents. You are their children. So God's promise is to you too. Doesn't mean that every single family member, head for head, is going to be a believer. Okay? You may have a brother or sister who decides or shows that they're not a true child of God by leaving the church and going off and living a life that's not pleasing to God. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But God promises to families, and so that's why He saves not just the nobleman, not just the nobleman's son, but his household, his children. Maybe the nobleman has grandchildren or will have that, but that promise is always to families. So that's a beautiful thing that we can be comforted by. God promises to you and then eventually your seed. So it's a wonderful promise Christ gives here. So that's the nobleman's son being healed. And then tomorrow we'll see how Jesus then after this is rejected. A prophet in his own country is not even welcome here.